And they know
I can
haven't heard from you for a month.
I don't know.
I'll root for you. I'll start cheering for you. Let's go.
He also loves the banter between everyone. He loves it. But then he loves chatting with you.
Read her part if I have to.
Okay.
She's on her way.
Oh. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Oh, okay, no, it's texting. You're texting. I'm texting the commissioners.
That's why we don't you.
Hey, do I have to, Sharon, Beth, Sharon, do I have to break you guys up?
I'm sorry.
Wow. 6:45, 46. Okay, welcome to the Franklin County Community School Corporation. This is a tentative agreement meeting and appropriation for final bond resolution. Franklin County Administrative Offices, October 10th, 2022. The public tentative agreement meeting, the presentation of the tentative bargaining agreement.
You go ahead and read that if you want.
Ms. Tammy Chavis, Superintendent of Schools. The purpose of this hearing is to discuss the tentative collective bargaining agreement negotiated by the Franklin County Community School Corporation and the Franklin County Education Association. The school board is meeting pursuant to Indiana Code 20-29-6-19 parentheses A to discuss the terms of the tentative teacher collective bargaining agreement, which is posted on the school corporation website.
I'll go ahead and just kind of briefly, before anybody wants to make any public comments. So my team, which included my business manager, Kendra, and payroll and benefits coordinator, Jordan, Mr. Isaacs, director of operations, Mrs. Weslowski, our vice president, and Mr. Rick Gill, a president of the board, and myself. We met 5 times, I believe, 4 times, maybe 5, with the Teachers Association. We began on September 15th, and we came to a tentative agreement last week. So the To summarize, it was for 128 certified staff. Both parties agreed to a minimum of a 5.22% increase to the 2021-22 base salary for returning teachers. Our beginning teacher salary is now $42,500. We're proposing. We did have 4 individuals that had additional college credits that were able to move across the grid. And we did have, and it's really no fault of anyone, we have a middle of the pack, a compression issue, because when we started negotiation, I went back today, 2019, 2020, our starting salary was $38,250. So 4 years later, we're at $42,500. So if they were hired a year before that and they stayed with the corporation, we had some teachers in there that were 4 and 5, and I think there were 2 6-year veteran teachers that were making what first-year teachers were making on the starting salary, just because of what's happened over the last 5 years. So some academic need, we deemed that academic need, and we did move those individuals and place them on the grid, so we didn't have that situation. We are remaining with Anthem. That is our current carrier. We will remain with Anthem for this next enrollment year. We did move vision and dental from Sun Life to Anthem as well. Both employer and employee contributions for the premiums did increase. We did add language for any teacher that is on an extended contract. We have teachers are on a 185-day contract. We do have some individuals that are on 195, 190. Those are counselors. I believe our tech coordinator in this office is on a teacher contract but extended day. So we added language in there to address that. We added language. We do currently have, I think, 2 teachers at the high school that are teaching during their prep. So they're teaching 7 classes. So we added language on how to compensate those individuals. And we do have now language for anyone that's assigned extra duties, which we currently are exercising, but it is in there now. So long-term disability insurance, the employer, which is us, will be paying that for the teachers minus $1. We did eliminate some ECA positions. All of those positions at the middle school that were teamed or that termed B team, we eliminated those. That did free up some money, so we took that money and applied it to other ECA positions. We did add compensation to all head coaches at the high school. We did add compensation at the middle school for boys and girls basketball and girls volleyball. We added, when I say added compensation, it's very minimal, but we did add a few $100s here and there to the middle school AD, the middle school athletic supervisor, and the FFA sponsor and assistant sponsor. So they will see a little bit of an increase when they sign their ECA contract. Our goal is Friday at 10 o'clock. We'll have this approved by the board. And then I think we've deemed October 28th as the first payroll that will reflect the new contract. And we will go back to August 8th. Is that when we started? August 8th. And August 8th to October 14th pay, and we'll make up that difference because they were on a status quo contract. So we'll make up the difference for all of the employees. So that is the work of 5 days, what we changed. So any questions? Any public comments at this time?
Do we still do ECA at the end of their season, or you can spread it out?
Kendra, you can address that.
No, we do at the end of the season usually. We don't. I have not heard of anyone requesting that, and we've kept it standard that they will receive it at the end of the season, or if for some reason it coincides with the end of the semester, a lot get paid out at the end of the semesters as well.
I believe that's addressed in the contract that way as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
And if a ECA person is terminated for whatever reason, it would be prorated.
Yes, it would be prorated, or that would be a conversation that would be had, I believe, with the athletic director on if a new person took that position, if they would receive the remaining amount, however the situation is handled.
Sarah, do you have a
I
comment?
don't have a comment, I have a question. And that is, did the support staff receive the same 5.22% minimum raises? And do they get the same health insurance, other benefits?
The support staff, yes, they do get the same benefits, and no, they did not get 5.22.
Any more comments from the public?
I don't see Amber
If
yet.
there is,
I don't see Amber, so.
there
I'll
is
go
none, we'll adjourn the presentation. Additional appropriation hearing and final bond resolution. Statement of the purpose of the hearing.
I will go ahead and speak as Amber. I know she's on her way, but pursuant to Indiana, why don't you go ahead and read the top part there, Rick,
Okay.
right here.
Oh, okay. I'd like to open up the meeting for the board to hold an additional appropriation hearing. If you are speaking, please make sure that you have signed in at the sheet at the back of the room and would include your name and address. The notice of additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required on September the 21st, 2022 in the Brookville American and the Brookville Democrat. At this time, I will ask Ms. Tammy Chavis to speak on behalf of Ms. Amber Orozco, our school board attorney, to explain the purpose of this hearing.
Pursuant to Indiana code, before any school corporation can spend any bond proceeds, it must hold a public hearing, which we're doing tonight.
We will now open the public hearing. If you are speaking, we ask you to state your name, address, and limit your comments to the proposed additional appropriation. We have no one. Ms. Chavis?
The additional appropriation resolution is required when the school is planning to spend bond proceeds.
Could I have a motion to adopt the additional appropriation resolution? Mr. Bryant, second.
Katie. Hello, Mr. Ray.
Katie.
Katie Holman.
Ms. Holman. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. 7-0.
The final bond resolution contains the project cost, maximum interest rate, approval of a registrar and paying agent agreement, the continuing disclosure agreement, bond form, and other financial terms such as the first interest payment date and maturity dates of the bonds.
Could I have a motion to adopt the final bond resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Bromback, need a second? Ms. Foster, all in favor, raise your hand. 7-0. At this time, I would like to adjourn the public hearing.
About 3 minutes before.
business meeting. Stand and for the pledge, please. And afterward, have a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Consent agendas, is the minutes, the expenditures, donation and grants, field trip request, and personnel. Is there any discussion? Need a motion to accept them?
Motion.
Ms. Foster, Ms. Weslowski, second. All in favor, raise your hand. 7-0. Financial report.
The education fund balance as of September 30th was $3,475,988.06. A year ago, this balance was $1,611,524.98. The operations fund balance as of September 30th was $294,366.78. A year ago, this balance was $911,375.17. The investment interest earned year to date as of September 30th was $19,129.07. This is compared to $11,614.78 a year ago.
Any discussion?
Did you ever move that bond back or that money back into a CD?
We have not. We actually have a scheduled, it's soon to be scheduled meeting with Chad from CFOL to talk about all of the options with that money. We have a few ideas that we will present to the board, but that can be on the action items to do with that money.
And I'd like to say the $19,000 in investments is all the accounts that we have that are earning investments at this time, which is pretty good. Any more discussion? That's for discussion only. Cafeteria report.
The cafeteria fund balance as of September 30th was $534,291.57. This is compared to $210,041.39 a year ago.
Any discussion? Latchkey report.
The latchkey fund balance as of September 30th was $7,117.63. This is compared to $3,971.62 a year ago.
Any discussion?
Is that timing or is that increased enrollment in the Latchkey program?
I think both. I don't have updated enrollment numbers. I can get them, but I think it was a lot of timing. This last month was also a 4-week. It was a longer month, so numbers have gone up.
Any more discussion? Okay. Resolution, the authorization to make changes to the 2023 budget is needed. Resolution to transfer from education fund to operational fund. Ms. Chavis.
Do you want me to? Okay. Ms. Tina Chavis and myself are recommending a resolution for the superintendent or designee attended the budget hearings to be allowed to make the appropriate changes to lines 1 and 2 of the submitted state budget and all of the funds at any time during the budget process if necessary, as well as a resolution to make transfers from the education to operations fund in the amount of $1,500,000 during the 2023 calendar year.
What you have on our.
Yeah, that's not correct.
Okay, so the $1,350,000 is not correct.
No, we did a percentage the state allows a certain percentage of the education to be transferred over. We are not going up to that full amount. We are staying well below that, but this is what we have budgeted for is the 1.5. Actually, less than that, but this is just in case.
Okay.
It's always a little bit higher just in case.
Okay. Any discussion by the board? Need a motion to approve? Ms. Weslavsky? Mr. Bryant, second. All in favor, raise your hand. I see you, Grant. 7-0. Resolution, the adoption of the 2023 capital projects / assets plan, 5-year bus replacement plan, and the 2023 budget.
Ms. Chavis and myself are requesting the adoption of the 2023 capital projects asset plan and the 5-year bus replacement plan. In addition, a resolution is necessary to set forth the following appropriation amounts, levies, and tax rates for the 2023 budget, subject to the Department of Local Government Finance approval. These are numbers that were discussed at last board meeting's hearing. I do also want to make a note that these are the advertised and adopted amounts. Once, as stated, the DLGF has approval, these numbers could go down. These are always, you create a budget a little bit higher. So once the final numbers are brought forth, we will discuss those as well.
Okay, any discussion by the board? Need a motion to accept? Ms. Weslavsky, need a second? Mr. Bryant, all in favor, raise your hand. 7-0. Celebrations.
Yes, I don't have the three gentlemen here tonight, but I just want to point out that the high school had all three Lily finalists. They are Derek Brimhals, Stephanie Billman, and Peyton Mercury. So we wish them luck as the foundation reviews those applications. Hopefully we'll have someone to recognize at our next board meeting. So congratulations to all three of those fine students. I would like to recognize my Educator of the Month at this time. Mr. Dorrell is the athletic director at the high school, where he's been in that position for 5 years. Prior to that, he was coached football for 14 years. He has his bachelor's degree from Hanover in communications. He was nominated by two individuals, coaches, and a community member. We asked the coach why Denny should be considered for this recognition, and the coach responded, "Denny is such a strong moral example of how he leads his coaches and motivates the athletes. He encourages the coaches, supports their decisions, and helps to drive improvements in the program. Mr. Dorrell is truly dedicated to helping all players and coaches succeed." When he's not involved in athletics or out on the athletic field, which is very rare. He's in the barn with 4-H. So I reflect on a little story he told in the summer when he was talking about his animals, and his kids named the animals, and he was having a really hard time with that. So, and I never really think about that, but I'm like, okay, you named the pig, and that's hard. So, Kendra, my secretary, asked Denny to respond to that same question, why he loves doing what he does. He loves building trust and relationships with people, and that's very evident. If you see him, he's always got a smile on his face. He enjoys raising his kids in a gym and having Franklin County High School athletes be role models for his own children. So join me in congratulating Mr. Denny Dorrell as our Educator of the Month.
No, just me.
Just you?
All three of my kids are in a gym right now as we speak, but I appreciate it. I've enjoyed the last 5 years and look forward to many more. So thank you.
You get a picture.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to say something about Mr. Dorrell. My kids grew up with him and played basketball. And watching Denny grow up and succeed in what he does, and then go off to college, and then comes back here and does the same thing that he does on the floor when he played basketball. He inspires others and wants others to step up and be role models. And it's nice seeing Denny come back here to Franklin County, and
Where'd he go?
He's right
and
He walked out on Republican.
it's nice to see Mr. Doyle come back here and be such a role model for our students.
Appreciate that.
I have a real fast little story. When you show sheep, and I didn't know this, but when you show sheep, you have to walk sheep. And Denny, they have sheep. All the kids have sheep. And one day, he said, "Oh, I gotta walk sheep with the kids." I said something about, his wife said something about he was gonna get a treadmill for Christmas to put the sheep on the treadmill so you didn't have to walk out in the pasture. I think that's just
Smarter, not harder.
Did you get the treadmill?
I haven't got it yet.
You put your Fitbit on there too?
I need to. Obviously, not enough.
So what pig do I have in my freezer then?
I think his name's Bacon, actually.
Emma, would you like to join me? Mrs. Emma Dorfline is our support staff of the month for October. She's a paraprofessional at Franklin County Middle School. Emma's in her 4th year working at Franklin County Community School Corporation. She was nominated for this honor by 3 colleagues. When asked why Emma should be considered for this recognition, they responded, "Mrs. Dorfline goes above and beyond expectations for students and staff. We consider Emma more of a co-teacher than a paraprofessional. She takes the initiative to assist all students, whether it's in the classroom or not. If a student's struggling to open their locker, she's there to help. If a teacher's assisting students struggling with behavior, she is there to help work with the rest of the students. In addition to her responsibilities in the classroom, she volunteers her time to help kids excel in 4-H. In her free time, she enjoys walking, making delicious homemade meals, along with tasty treats and desserts. We'd like to have some of those over here at the central office. During the summer, Emma and her family love traveling to different cities and parks to enjoy places that our wonderful country has to offer. Emma also enjoys trail riding with her husband and friends in western Indiana, Tennessee, and Michigan. When asked what's the best part of her job, she said, "The best part of my job is hearing a student exclaim with excitement, 'Mrs. Dorfline.' To me, that means I've brought joy to them and I made a positive impression. I will always be grateful for every memory made at Franklin County Middle School." Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Do a quick picture.
Do you have guests with you, Emma?
Yes, introduce your guest, please.
So I have my husband, Rob, my oldest, Ava, then my youngest, Vivian, and my middle, Levi. And they all, the older two go to middle school, and the youngest goes to Brookville Elementary School.
Okay, everyone that would like to go at this time, you can, or unless you want to stay for the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome, but if you have other things to do.
Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Thanks. Thank you.
You're free to go.
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Thank you.
You going back to the phone?
If I got time, if they're still down there. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
Take care, bud.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, is there any statements from the public?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy?
Oh, that's
Oh,
the
just
sign-in sheet.
sign-in
Okay,
sheet. Okay.
sorry.
There's
Sorry.
no statements from the public, statements from employees.
Hang on, we might.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, there you go.
Okay, statements from the public. Well, we will go back. Is Ms. Keck, Mary Keck.
Hi there, my name is Mary Keck, and I'm running for school board, and I just wanted some clarity on the solar panels. So I haven't been around to these school board meetings, so I haven't heard exactly what was going on, but I'm being asked, and I'm curious myself. Is it a done deal? And from the time the digging happens, the breaking of the ground, how long does it take, in between that and flipping the switch, which is supposed to be done by December 31st in order to take advantage of the money that's supposed to come to us from the excess energy? So,
Mary, would you like to meet with me this week?
sure.
One-on-one, and we can talk about it.
But, I mean, we can't discuss that here, so the general public, no?
It's a discussion part. This is a statement that you made.
Okay,
I can meet with you in person if you'd like
okay,
about it, and I can walk you through the whole process. It's a very long process, so
okay,
yeah. Give me a call tomorrow, or I'll call you.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
This here is just a statement from what you want to say.
Yeah, it's a.
Okay, my statement is, I hope it's happening soon, and I hope the switch gets switched on December 31st, because if it's not, I have some problems with it.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no one else? No statements from the employees? Superintendent's report.
Last board meeting, I gave you a preliminary enrollment update, so that was certified after our September board meeting, and we were at 2032. That was a few more than I had, I believe I said in September. So the elementary is at 444 currently. Laurel is at 262. That's up from 238 in 2021. Mount Carmel is at 239, and that's up from 220 in the fall of 21. The middle school is at 361, and the high school is at 726. And I believe I did point out at the last board meeting that we graduated 171, and our kindergarten enrollment was at 172. So we had a even out, even in, so, which has not been the case in the last 5 to 6 years. So that's positive news.
Okay, it's information only. Any old business?
No, sir.
Any new business?
We have school improvement plans. So last board meeting, we had 2 principals go. Tonight, we have the other 3. So I'm going to let Mrs. Brock go first. If you would step up to the mic, Mrs. Brock, so everyone can hear you online.
Good evening, everyone. So I will be presenting our 3 school-wide improvement goals for Brookville Elementary this evening. First, we are going to focus on our attendance. We continue to do that. Last few years, our attendance at the elementary has been a roller coaster, especially the last 2.5, I believe, with the pandemic. Looking back over the last 10 years, actually last year's attendance was probably the worst we've had, which surprised me a little bit because we were starting to get back into that little bit of normalcy, I guess, after the pandemic. But I don't know if it was maybe a little easier for us to track because, the year and a half before we had the quarantines, we had the quarantine and attendance. Quarantine, they were sick, so they couldn't do schoolwork, different types of things. So, that could possibly be the reason, but we were at actually 93.8% attendance last year, which I think is extremely low. The print is very small. So our goal by the end of this school year for our attendance is that we meet or exceed the 96%, which is normally the state average, right around the state average. So we hope to achieve 96 or exceed, like I said, the state average. Also, we will be focusing on language arts. We will be using our NWEA, that is a fall, winter, and spring tests that we do in grades K through 12. So we will be looking at that across the board. And our goal is that 96% of our students in grades K through 5 at the elementary will increase their RIT score, which is, I could go into a very long definition, but it's a score given to each student individually on their level. And then that way, when they take the NWEA, if they answer a question correctly, it gives them one just a tad bit harder. If they answer one incorrectly, the next question goes a little bit lower. So it kind of jumps up and down till it finds a fairly consistent level for that particular student. So I'm not taking the same test as the student sitting next to me due to the way we answer the questions. So, but our goal, we can still look at the entire school and have our goal of a student's RIT score increase by 5 or more points. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but really, according to the test, it's a very good amount. I mean, we think it's very doable, but it's not so easy because we're asking that, let me use it back to the page before. I think we're asking that to meet this goal, 96% of our students, grades K through 5, will show that 5-point increase from fall to spring. So we've just recently taken the fall. We will take a winter test. We will look at that for other purposes, but as far as our school-wide goal, we'll just compare fall to spring. And then basically math is the very same thing. We are looking at that as well because we do the NWA with both English language arts and math. And again, we're using the increase of 5 or more points, RIT points, from fall to spring. Okay. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Bundy? Yes, it should be on, yes.
Middle school, we also focused on the 3 goals: math, language, and attendance. I think it's eye-opening to see this data here pre-COVID to post-COVID, but definitely shows some issues with our with the learning gap that caused that COVID caused because of attendance, because of other things. It just really wreaked havoc with our middle school age students. And so we've kind of reset our goals because of COVID. Thinking that we're going to get back to pre-COVID in a year is not reasonable, in my opinion. So we set new benchmarks starting last year, which truthfully was still part of COVID, but it wasn't as bad as the previous year. So what we're looking at is pushing each of these benchmarks up 3% each year over the next 3 years, so 9% total. Now, do we think that we can do it more than that? Possibly, but our goal is at least 3%. One thing we're also doing, it's not 7th grade scores this year, 7th grade scores next year, comparing those, we're doing cohort groups. Because just because one group scores at a certain level doesn't mean that group is going to, the next 7th grade group is going to score at that level. So we're looking at cohort groups, so 6th graders, then when they come in as 7th graders, and then those 7th graders, when they become 8th graders, we're following through. So that's why we went all the way back to BES. We included Mount Carmel and Laurel in this information. So we are looking at the kids that are coming into that grade level, whether it's just our building or other buildings as well. So basically for language arts and math, we're doing similar goals. So again, 3% each year, trying to push them forward. And again, we're using cohort groups to do that, not just grade level. So a cohort group would be like all of FCMS 7th graders this year. As a cohort group, that group is 8th grade. So that's why we divided up here. So our sixth grade, we need to know what BES fifth grade scores are to know what we're looking at for our sixth grade scores. But then when we go to seventh and eighth, or to seventh grade, we can't just take our sixth grade and push those scores, translate them to seventh grade, because we have Mount Carmel and Laurel students coming in as well. So there's a lot of different data that we have to analyze, and it's bringing all of it to try to get the most accurate data for the students that we have, and then pushing them forward each year. So looking at these numbers, they're not good. I understand that. But again, we're significantly lower now than we were before the pandemic. And I think that our students were significantly impacted by what happened in the overall world of education, with quarantines, with a lot of students choosing to, or parents choosing to keep them home for a year and trying to do online learning. Some parents were successful at that, some were not. And we're trying to bring all of that together so we can push these students forward as we go. And then as far as our attendance goals, like Mrs. Brock said, attendance, we want to be over the 96, but our goal is actually moving towards 97. We were real close before the pandemic, but we fell back to 94.4% last year. That's our benchmark now. We're going to try to go up in the next 3 years, get that to the 97th percentile or percent, because we feel like the addition of Mr. Tucker, he is on attendance, making calls, making visits, doing things. I think he's going to be valuable in that. But just bringing kids back from thinking it's okay to miss school, that changing that mindset, I think that we'll be able to do that over the time, especially with the Mr. Tucker focusing on those students who have significant number of absences. So those are the 3 goals for the middle school. And I just had to throw in pictures from homecoming week, so showing our kids. So.
Do you have any unification criteria for all the elementaries feeding in the 6th grade program into the 7th grade? In other words, do they have consistent at Mount Carmel, Laurel, and Brookville?
I went back 2014, I think, data, looking at all the schools, and it just depends on that cohort group. You're not able to say, well, Mount Carmel's significantly higher or Laurel's consistently higher. It depends so much on that cohort group, and as they work through, and that's why we're looking at the elementary schools, and then bringing together and getting all 3 of it, so whole corporation data when they're coming in as 7th grade. So yeah, it's interesting to look at that, but we did go back to 2014 on some of that data. And on the data, as far as pushing forward with what we're planning to do, obviously we don't know what those 6th grade scores from this year's 6th graders will be. So we have target scores, but we'll have to adjust that data every year as students go through. But this is an ongoing process. We went back to, I think it was 2014, and then we'll be continuing this to try to really pull things together. We don't just look at NWEA data. I had a lot of email conversations with teachers over the summer when I was looking at iLearn data. Our teachers did a fabulous job working on the race reading style, and that's the information-based questions and responding to that. But what I found is our students score really well on that, but then some of the things that generally schools found to be easier, we didn't do as well because we were spending so much time on that race writing. So now we're adjusting what we're teaching in those language arts classes, going back and hitting the narratives harder and hitting some of those other things. So we use a lot of data, not just NWEA when we're looking at our curriculum, but we use iLearn scores, we use other things as well. With our teachers, the math textbook or math online textbooks, we have Alex Program 2, which is great for math data. We use MobiMax, so we use a lot of things. Language arts teachers are using Read Theory and a couple of other things. So all of this goes in together for these conversations. But for our goal, we focused on NWEA because that's the most consistent data that we have.
That was my question, is we can talk about numbers and we can talk about percentages, but what are you actually, in the layman's term, what are you doing? And you gave me a little bit on that. Jill, and I'm not going to ask Mrs. South, North, whatever, I'm sorry. What specifically in layman's terms, or what are you doing for math? I mean, I know that we have the new math books.
We do. We have the new series.
Can you step up to the mic, please?
I'm so glad you asked that, because I was slow, so I didn't ask, how are you getting there?
Yeah. Okay, so, yes, with the new math series, and actually that's what I've been asking the teachers, I would love to see you teaching the new math. So when I'm doing my observations, I'm trying to go in during their math time so I can myself get a better handle on it. One thing they have commented that they do like it, they're using, some supplemental material. They really feel like what the math book so far has presented is good stuff. But we just, again, I guess I'm going back to COVID as maybe a crutch or an excuse. But we feel like, we've got to backpedal a little bit because we've seen such a gap. While Mr. Bundy was talking, I was thinking to myself, especially when I saw our fifth grade scores, our third graders this year, the last time, they were kindergartners when we left in March. So, you look at that time and they're already in third grade and we see what we've lost. So, and Beth, I don't know if I'm answering your question. We continue to teach math facts. We are, we're drill and kill, we do that practice daily. They are supplementing with what they think they need to do. We're doing the story problems. But the new math series is, it's textbook at our level. We do some online. The teachers enter some things in Canvas for homework and that type of thing. But yeah, we're just, I guess getting back to the basics, maybe, for a lack of better terms.
Well, I think they definitely have to have the foundation. If you missed 2.5 years,
I feel like that even as third graders, we're thinking of what they've missed out on. Like Mrs. Bundy said, we had the couple of months completely off. Then the year where we could do one or the other. And then even last year, some parents, even though we didn't offer our own online through Franklin County, some still chose, to do the Indiana online, to do some type of homeschooling.
Are you pulling kids? Are you not pulling kids, but are you recognizing kids, both of you, that are they getting extra help? Are they, I know probably extra help, but how are you identifying that student, that by a test score, by grades, by
a little bit of both? We've looked at the NWEA already, looked at those scores. We've done just some general testing in classrooms. All of our teachers do small groups with reading and math. I do have a math interventionist as well, with recommendations from teachers, and it's Mrs. Emma Shepard, a former teacher, so what better person to be doing that? So, she takes small groups of 3, well, no, I shouldn't say 3, probably 4 or 5 anyway, because she's just one person, so we want to try to reach out or reach as many students at the different grade levels that we can. But she's working daily with students who struggle and like I say, on recommendations of teachers.
Okay, so another question. We're not just targeting the low student. We're targeting the middle student. And like your better students sometimes will even miss a part of math.
Sure.
Where they, so.
Yeah, math is tending to go in the same direction as reading with the small groups. You know, we've heard the small group reading instruction going on, RTI, all focusing around reading. But yes, we're tending to see math go that way as well within the classroom. And then, again, we do have some pullout with the interventionists in math. So I think that's a step in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
We probably needed that a long time ago, but, you know, we've had
Do
that
you-
at Brookville for the last.
Both
few
of
years.
you, and I'll, this will be my last thing, but if these kids, these kids are still not getting it, and you know, when you're a teacher, you know if they're getting it or not.
Absolutely you do.
You know.
It doesn't matter what a test score
No.
is, you know.
And,
Yes.
So we're pulling this kid, we're giving him extra special. What is the next step? What can we do as a corporation to help these students? Because some of these kids, they're lost.
That's a good question. That's a great question.
I mean, I don't
I
think this, we keep mentioning learning loss in the pandemic, and 2.5 years later, we're not gonna pull out of this in this year.
Right, right.
It's going to take
Exactly.
2.5, 3, 4,
Right.
maybe 5 years for some of these
Right.
students. Continuing to giving that remediation, the RTI, extra support, wherever we can, during the school year. And by
Have
the
you-
time they get to middle school, they may be in summer school.
Yeah.
And at the high school level, obviously.
Yeah, I mean,
Are you
our
giving
goal is
any-
just to close that gap as.
Are you giving any incentives for those kids that, I know this almost takes like another principal, another person in your building. I know that, I understand that, but have you worked on any incentives yet, or have we just started?
Yeah, we have not this year. No, we haven't. But I think that's something I think that's a great idea. You know, we do our character awards and those type of things. You know, we do our end of the year awards, but, you know, maybe that's something we look into, adding that to some of our programs. Math students of the month, language student arts of, language arts students of the month. Why not? I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
You had some great questions I want to respond to. As far as math, we've had math lab for a few years, but we haven't necessarily had a licensed math teacher doing those labs. It was based off of MobyMax a lot, which is a website. Because of the direction that we were headed, we were able to put Mrs. Furman into a math lab so that a licensed math teacher can work with those math students. And I think that's going to give us huge dividends. Language arts, we've had reading lab for a couple of years. We're still doing reading lab, but we also see a deficiency in writing. So we've started up a writing lab as well. So we've added math lab, we've changed math lab. We've added a writing lab with Mrs. Isaacs, high school language arts teacher. So she knows what they need to prepare for. And then continuing with our RTI program in 6th grade, we're taking steps to try to fill in these gaps. Another thing that especially our math teachers are doing in the regular classroom is they're using that ALEX program to go and target specific deficiencies. And the cool thing about that program is that it is individualized, where they're taking it's connected to the NWEA scores, and they're finding weaknesses there, and then assigning concepts based on their weaknesses. So all those things, I think, are really going to help in the long run. But like Ms. Javis said, it's not going to be a one-year dig out on this. And me putting the BES scores up, that was not, I was just trying to show our stair steps on this, but even more than the middle school, I think those elementary kids, the percentage of time they miss out of their education career is bigger there than it is even at the middle school. One thing we are seeing, probably more behavior issues over the last couple of years, because kids were home and didn't really have the interactions with other students. We're seeing anxiety issues, and Mr. Frank and our CMHC people are doing a really good job trying to identify and help those kids. So we're bringing in resources to try to overcome some of the obstacles created by the pandemic. It's just going to take a while. And I really think that our teachers have their hearts and minds in the right place and want to do what's best. And it's a struggle because they're having to reach down further than they've ever had to reach before to try to pull those kids up. But according to the state, we're still responsible for getting them here, even though they're starting at a different starting point. So it's not going to be an easy job for the teachers, but it's something that we are continuing to meet on. And as far as the behavior goes, we do 2-week rewards, and grades and discipline are the main, and attendance, all three are the focus of that. If you can have earn the 2-week reward, then you get to pick an activity that you get to do with a group of students, and that's every 2 weeks. And then if they can earn that reward 7 out of the 9 times in the semester, then there's a bigger reward at the end. So we do try to do those incentive things, and we're trying to tie a lot of things into that to try to reach as many kids as we can.
I think you made a really good point that you're not only just teaching them the math, science, and language and whatever, but you're probably teaching them manners. Yes, please, thank you. No, you can't do that. Be kind, I'm sure that's all part of it.
Yeah, it is a different situation now than it was 2-3 years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Ms. South.
Good evening. All right, so I have to give a lot of credit to my whole school improvement team that helped create this and compile the data. They've been working on this for the last 3 years, and I just kind of skimmed in there at the end. So a lot of this has been in the works for quite a while. Before I go into the goals, there's something that we did definitely notice that was of an immediate need, and that was after we analyzed the data, which is the Northwest Educational Association, that's what the NWEA stands for, attendance on track to graduate our credits, we determined that our focus needed to change as a school, okay? We need to immediately address a few things. The students' personal beliefs about their school, climate change, okay? Connection between school success and life, college and career readiness and success. Students learning the personal value of the test itself and how it can benefit them in the long run. Reduce that or the rapid guessing on NWEA. A lot of times students go through the test very, very quickly, so try to calm them down a little bit. How attendance correlates to academic success, the students, parents, and school personnel all on the same page. And lastly, reduce the chronic absenteeism. So strategies to affect this particular change will be addressing these goals using various strategies. Develop a climate that is safe, uplifting, inclusive, and encouraging to help students take risks as well as challenge themselves. Enforcing consistent policies, using effective communication with teachers, students, parents, and administration. Working with all stakeholders to improve student attendance and achievement. Reduce chronic absenteeism by finding the root cause of the issue. Celebrating individuals as well as groups, friendly competitions. And this is just an example of one of the updated programs that we have. Example of updated learning programs to meet the needs of all students. It's personalized, it's individualized, it's differentiated instruction used to automatically tailor to a student's skill level. It helps him or her achieve lasting outcomes by prioritizing higher order thinking skills. Memorization, over-memorization happens to be ELA. All right, so for the goals. Goal number 1. Northwest Educational Association benchmark to the winter NWEA from now, fall to winter. 60% of our students will be on or above grade level by winter, based on their MAP 6+ reading assessment, RIT, or Ready to Learn, score by December of 31st, as measured by NWEA MAP, which is measured progress. Reading 6+ assessment. And we're gonna go a little further than that. From winter to spring, we're upping another 5%. Okay? So again, we started out about 55 and now we're at 60. We're going from 60 to 65. And then again, we should have about 65% of our students. And that's just that of our reading assessment goal. Now, some of the strategies to get us there. School-wide celebrations. When goals are met. Grade level competitions. Prizes. Classroom teacher composition. Prizes. Remember, getting the students to address the test, do well on the test, slow down on the test. Charts and hallways to show results and progress. Mimium program, again, adopted to improve vocabulary. Vocabulary focus in all departments. Reading instruction in all departments. Teaching students to interpret graphs. Literary term instruction, and of course, the race writing that Mr. Bunny had spoken about in middle school up. All right, goal 2. From fall, again, our benchmark to winter. This is math. 66% of our students will be on or above grade level by winter, based on their NWEA Math 6+ Math Assessment Ready to Learn score. And again, we're going to up it another 5%, 71% by that of the spring medium score. Any questions about that? Strategies. Again, school-wide celebrations when the goals are met, individual achievement as far as prizes, grade level competition prizes, classroom teacher competitions, competitions for individual teachers, and charts in the hallways. Now we do have a third goal. 75% of the students taking the Preparing for College and Career course will communicate effectively to identify what career and college choices and resources are offered through Franklin County High School. This happens to be our Naviance program. Our life lessons as well as mentors. We have our, of course, our MCATs. Some of the lessons that our Naviance provides, for example, this was one that was on September the 19th. Freshmen, my foundation. Sophomores, participating in life. Juniors, what makes me unique. Seniors, my college applications. As of today, my life's work, freshmen. My favorite qualities, sophomores. My career goals, juniors. My personal brand, seniors. And of course, everybody's getting ready for the FAFSA presentation. FAFSA is this Tuesday, and the PSAT obviously is going to be on Wednesday. So those are discussions that take place within those time periods. Goal 4, decrease the total number of students who are considered chronically absent. A student is chronically absent when he or she misses 10% of school or more, days for any particular reason. New assistant principal has been hired to specifically address the attendance issues, enforcing policies, having more communication with students and parents. Personally contacting parents of students who have excessive absences is a way to find out why the students have these particular attendance issues. Provide additional mental and physical health support, community mental health services. School-based facilitators from community mental health are working with our students with mental health concerns, and their services are available to all students. All rules and guidelines in the student handbook will be enforced. School resource officers in the building each day to create an environment for safety to respond to any safety concerns that might actually keep a student from coming to school. And students are being rewarded for positive contributions to that in school culture. All right, any questions?
But I would like to pay you a compliment. I've had several people come up and tell me that you're very consistent on application of rules and such, and it makes their students' lives a lot easier than adapting to that environment.
Ms. South, what kind of response are you getting from parents now that they're getting those personal phone calls about attendance? Is it getting positive feedback? Are the students coming? Have you seen a difference in maybe a student that had previously been chronic absent from school?
We've had some students that have actually came back and started attending school. And unfortunately, we've had some schools that have, or some students that have gone because it's been kind of years since we've seen them, or they've been a difficult time. We're finding them and they're coming in and withdrawing. So it's kind of 50-50 at this point.
Yeah.
The new class that you guys, and I'm not real familiar with it, but it's freshmen have to take it. It's about lives, careers. Can you speak a little bit about that class and who has to take that class?
Sure. It's opening up the communication as to help them provide that resources to help them to determine where they want to go and what they want to do. Okay, it's not one after the other. It just gives them based upon their own their skill sets or that their own personality inventories as to what they would like to see best for them.
So we sometimes, as a board or a school corporation, get the statement that we push all students toward the college track. Well, I think that this class is very, very good because it gives so many options to the plumber, and the whatever you want to do. And I think was this a mandatory course, or did we just?
Graduate.
It's great. It's awesome.
Thank you. So I will ask the board, they do need approval for their school improvement goals and strategies to move on.
Okay, is there any more discussion?
Before we vote, can I say one thing can we get a teeny tiny little update? And I don't want you to come in with a bunch of statistics, but how do they feel like at Christmas break or maybe even after Christmas? How do you think that this is going in their school? Yeah. And then probably after Christmas would probably be better because it gets crazy before that. And nothing, big or anything, just yes, I think it's better, no, whatever.
I agree, because with what all the principals have said, that, their goal marks are from the fall to the winter and then the winter to the spring, it would be wonderful to have perhaps an update on how they've done that.
No more discussion? Need a motion? Ms. Westlowski, need a second? Ms. Holman, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. 7-0.
I'll go ahead, if the board will allow me, move Amber up before we do board policy. Amber? Who was the second on this past motion?
Ms. Coleman.
Thank you.
So I've asked Ms. Chavis for permission to address you guys tonight. We have been approached, I think as you know, by the county to possibly purchase the building where the town's administration is. And that might sound a little bit odd, but as I think you probably know, the deed as it currently reads, when the school corporation deeded to the town the building, contained a right of reverter, so that if the town ever ceased to use that building for town purposes, that it came back to us. We've gotten notice from the town that they do intend to vacate. We don't have a date on that yet, but I don't think we need to wait for one before we start to figure out what we'd like to do with that building. So I am looking for guidance from you, because in order to transfer that building by another municipality or to another municipality, we do not have to go through the public rites of passage through the law. We don't need an appraisal. We don't need to open bid. If we're doing it to another municipality, so long as that municipality and we pass similar, they're called mirror resolutions, then we can, as long as the resolutions, as you might guess, match each other, we can go ahead and perform that real estate closing transaction through resolution. So I would like to produce a resolution for you, but I don't know the terms that it might contain. So I am looking for guidance from you on, one, whether you want to enter such a transaction with the county who is interested in purchasing our building, and if so, what the terms of that resolution might state, so that we and the county can pass mirror resolutions.
Any discussion?
I'm recusing myself on this. Not that I think it's a bad idea or anything. I've just got too many irons in the fire, too many different directions.
So what you're asking us was to produce a resolution for the sale of the building?
Potentially, if that's what you would like to do, then yes, but I would like to know the terms
Can I
of,
move in and have my wife stay? Okay.
there's 6 other people that gotta go with you, man.
That's all.
Amber, how soon do you have, are they in a hurry for this, or can we
Yes.
have a,
No, they are in a hurry for this, yes.
Do we have any,
Mr. Linkle
do we have
addressed
any
this.
intent of using the building for anything else?
We have,
No.
Mr. Isaacs and I have no intent
Any
to use
use
the
at all
building.
to the
Absolutely
school
not.
corporation?
No.
Then sell it.
And are we going to do it as is?
I
That would be
pref-
completely up to you.
prefer as is, yes.
I don't see any
Is-
issue why we don't
is the-
sell it as is, and
Is the board interested in selling it as is to the county?
I don't want to see us go into debt to to repair things when they're already saying they would purchase that. But the price that they have offered that we all received in our notes, is that a fair price?
I don't know. I don't have a reason to say no, that it's not a fair price, but I don't know. That would be up to the 7 of you. I think you're very educated people up here. I think you know what you've got. I think we've been in the building recently to see what we have there. But I do not know that I am qualified to answer your question, ma'am.
I think with the repairs needed, if we sell it as is and get the offered price, that we get money for the corporation, and at the same time, it's a liability that we don't have to update it in order to sell it.
And a benefit for the community as well.
Yes.
I think that answers my question probably the best way, because I wouldn't want anyone, especially in the public, to think that we had just accepted something and had not asked. That's why I asked if you felt that that was a good price.
Sure. I don't have any reason to say that it's not.
Yeah. With repairs that is needed on there, if you sell as is, then that absolves us from any, after the transaction is done, of going back and say, oh, well, you need to fix this here. No, it's as is right now.
the only thing that I don't know who set that amount. I don't know if that was from an appraiser, or did they just pull that amount out of the clouds? I mean, I think we need to, I do think we need to sell as is, but I think we need to, and then we go back to, you want to spend $3,000 for an appraisal.
Exactly. You know, the fear is that if you do appraise it and now we're gonna be offering it for this amount, then we just lost a potential buyer.
But I just
Or
wondered
you
how,
come back lower.
Correct.
right.
So you're
Grant, do you
taking it
know how they came up with that price, that
No,
cost?
they discussed it in a meeting, and I think they factored in repair costs as they went through they'd gone through the building before then, and there were some water issues when they went through.
So if we incur more cost and then we have to raise our price, that may kill the deal.
And I don't know that we're gonna be able to sell it as is to anyone else.
I agree. I don't know where they came up with the 70, or the amount.
Cracker Jack box. I
We
mean-
were not given any extra information as to how this number came about either.
I mean, if you want to go on Zillow, look at surrounding properties, that maybe you could, but even then, the condition of the building greatly affects the value of it, and it's not in great condition.
I think it'd be very hard to Zillow the administration building because there's not a lot of commercial property available that is similar
Yeah, exactly.
in nature to the size or the location, both in good and bad ways, right? Both pros and cons. I think it'd have a really hard time if you did have an appraisal to find comparables. I don't know that, but that's a concern I would have.
Would we ever
Also, this
consider
would be
alternatives?
benefit for the community as well.
I believe so, sir.
Well, has everyone done discussing it?
I am. Is everybody in favor of selling the building as
You have to
is?
make a motion, don't you?
Yeah, I was getting ready to do that.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we sell the building for the cost listed as is to the, what would it be, the Franklin County?
It would be Franklin County, yes, through their commissioners.
Is that simple enough?
I can write such a resolution, if that is what,
Do we need to add anything else into our motion for you to be able to do that?
I would suggest the following terms in listening to your discussion, and feel free to overrule me. But that the Board of Trustees would like to sell to Franklin County what I would call the Town Administration Building, which will revert to us upon the vacation of the town from using it for the amount of the $75,000, which has been sent forth to us before, in an as-is condition, and have the town or the county pay the cost of the transaction to do so.
That was my question, next question.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Do those four things, does anybody have questions on those four?
That sounds good.
Or is there any extra
So-
that you would like to be a part of this?
I just think that if you go back and you find something that needs to be in there that we're overlooking or we're not thinking about, is to put it in so that we are
So-
legally to our advantage.
Those are the four terms that I would suggest must be in. but
So
I-
the board is approving those terms to be a part of a resolution, and I would assume we'd come back in November with the resolution to be approved by the board?
Right, and
Okay.
what I would like to do is have your permission to draft that resolution, and that way the county also knows what
Right.
mirror resolution they're drafting, so that they can pass it probably before we pass ours in November, just because they meet more often than we do.
I hear the county's attorney is a schmuck, so.
You know, I think you can
Get
handle
on the
this.
resolution.
Okay, we've had our discussions and we've had a motion. I need a second. Mr. Bryant, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Mr.
Abstain.
Reeves abstained.
Okay, Brumback
Yep.
and Bryant, okay.
Yep.
6-0.
Thank you. I'll get that together and put out to the town.
Thank you.
Counties.
Yeah.
My building principals would like to leave.
If I do,
Go ahead.
actually, I'm making fun of myself, but Tammy Davis is gonna cover for me on the county side of this, so that I'm
Okay.
trying to stay clear out of it.
Would you like me to provide that to her then tomorrow?
Yeah, if you've got it.
Yep.
I think the commissioners, I think, wanted to act on one tomorrow, but I don't know if or not.
Yep, as long as I've got the blanks to put in what you just told me, so
Okay.
good to go.
The dreaded board policy. 'Cause I let you out of it last time, so.
I know that we thanked you.
Not this
Yeah,
time.
Amber,
Yeah.
that's why I moved you ahead. Okay,
Have a nice evening.
so the first one is
Congratulations.
Board Policy 2340, and it's just addressing field trips, sponsored trips. I think the most important thing in this policy to point out, and which we do now, the board does approve out-of-state field trips if they're going to stay overnight. And the second page of that, pursuant to state law, school buses may be used if the trip does not involve more than 200 miles out of state. So obviously we do go to the Cincinnati Zoo, those types of things, so we can't exceed 200 miles. Guidance and counseling, obviously we do provide guidance and counseling. Counselors are obviously only going to be those that are credentialed to counsel. So we do have guidance counselors, we do have an MOU with community mental health. We do have school-based counselors in all of our buildings. Some of our buildings have more than one. We do have a referral process that our building principals use and/or teachers, and we obviously don't provide any counseling unless it's approved by the parent. We do that during school time. Homebound and
Did you say there was an MOU?
memorandum of understanding that we sign with community mental health. Yes. Homebound instruction, we do offer homebound instruction, individualized cases such as a student that may be in an accident, and they need to be educated from home. A lot of times they're in IEPs. Case conference committee decides that that student needs to be educated at home, or we've done it here. We've had teachers come here. We've had teachers go to the library, just off-school property. We've provided transportation to the library for students to be educated there. So there's a lot of different reasons why that needs to happen. But we do make sure if we are going into the home that there's another adult there as well. I will have to say that's probably pretty rare that we are going into a parent's home at this time. Health services, we do offer the physical exams for athletes. I know Mr. Doral will do, probably hasn't done this for a couple years, but he'll do a student physical night. We do dental exams, we do eye exams, we do hearing, we do scoliosis. We do all of those things in our buildings now, and our nurses, along with Department of Health or local doctors, come into our buildings and do that for our students. So that is something we are currently doing. We just don't have that policy. The 2416 is the student privacy. So anytime that we are doing a survey, we do ask student permission or parent permission, and we do anything that would be collecting any kind of personal information. We don't sell that. We don't market that. There are certain organizations, such as military, I believe, that we are required to give that information to. But other than that, that's in-house. A lot of our surveys are just, we do one for Staying Alive. We do get that grant, so we do participate in that, the drug and alcohol side of things. Other than that, they're probably locally created by our building principals or teachers. I think Ms. South was talking about a climate audit. You know, we're gonna probably put together a survey. Do you feel safe at school? Those types of things that will help drive their school improvement plan. So we do that. The Career and Tech Ed 2421. Obviously, we do go to the Career Center at Whitewater, but also career CTE. We do in-house. We do the ag. We do business. We do engineering with Project Lead.